It's 2 in the morning in Bahrain. The Gulf is black. The base is asleep. An operator stares at his screen. One contact appears. Slow. Low. Bearing northeast. 110 knots. The speed of a weekend flying lesson. 8 seconds pass. A second contact. Then a third. Then 6 more behind it. Shaheds. Swept wings. 2-stroke engine bolted to the tail. Enough explosive. Packed in the nose to gut a building. A dozen of them, all pointed at naval support activity. Bahrain. 8,000 American soldiers and their families sleeping less than a mile from the wire. The battery commander's problem isn't tactical. These things fly in a straight line, at the speed of a Cessna. His problem is arithmetic. One PAEC-3 interceptor costs $4 million a round. Firing one at a $30,000 Shaheds is like swatting a mosquito with a Rolex. It works, but you're not getting the Rolex back. And every round he burns is one he won't have if something bigger shows up behind the swarm. Protecting lives is non-negotiable. He fires. The canister blows. The PAEC-3 clears the launcher on a pillar of white exhaust. 17 feet of guided telephone pole accelerating from 0 to Mach 5 in under 2 seconds. No conventional warhead. No fragmentation. Just 700 pounds of guided mass steering itself nose first into the target, and letting kinetic energy finish the conversation. The Shaheds doesn't maneuver. It doesn't detect the threat. The PAEC-3 shreds it over the harbor. Debris rains into the water. He fires again. Same result. The drones keep coming because Iran didn't send a dozen. Iran sent enough to try to drain the racks. What the battery commander didn't know yet, the Shaheds were never meant to hit anything. They were bait. While both batteries angle northeast cleaning up the last of the swarm, a Fatah-1 ballistic missile drops from directly overhead at Mach 13. Near vertical descent, Iran's most advanced weapon, slipping through the front door while security is chasing skateboarders in the parking lot. The warhead hits a service center 40 meters from the command hub. A second missile flattens a satellite uplink dish. 2 hits. Out of everything Iran threw at Bahrain, 2 weapons landed, and the operational impact is close to 0. That satellite dish was one of at least 6 ways Fifth Fleet talks to its ships. HF radio, UHF SATCOM, Link 16, Fleet broadband, encrypted chat. Losing that dish is like cutting someone's landline, when they've got a cell phone, a satellite phone, and the neighbor's Wi-Fi password. Comes rewrote in minutes. Fifth Fleet doesn't miss a beat. 50 miles across the water in the UAE, all UDID screens are filling with inbound contacts. A much bigger test is coming. The Combined Air Operations Center sits inside a hardened building. Nobody leaves their console. The air war doesn't pause because Iran decided to shoot back. At 3 in the morning, Iranian ballistic missiles cross the Qatari coastline in stacks. Second salvo climbing before the first one arrives. Third right behind it. Designed to keep the Patriot battery cycling reloads without a gap. A PAEC-3 operator acquires the lead track at 60 kilometers. Speed, trajectory, probable impact point, all computed in under 2 seconds. He confirms the engagement. The canister blows. The PAEC-3 clears the launcher. Same guided telephone pole, but the MSE variant is faster and more precise. Mach 5 steering with altitude thrusters firing millimeter corrections at a closing speed, where both objects cease to exist on contact. The first intercept flashes above Doha at 24,000 meters. The warhead and the interceptor disappear in the same instant. Over 8,000 kilometers per hour of combined closure speed, converting both into a particle cloud that will drift through the upper atmosphere for days. A second PAEC-3 is already climbing. For 90 seconds, every Iranian missile meets an American interceptor on the way up. The operators cycle through engagements with the mechanical rhythm of a crew that has run this drill 1,000 times in simulators. Iran's one success at Al Udeid comes from the same trick as Bahrain, a maneuvering warhead that fires small lateral thrusters at 30,000 feet and shifts trajectory just enough to slide past interceptors already committed to the original track. 2 warheads and a low-flying Shaheds get through the saturated window. An AEN FPS-132 early warning radar takes damage. A section of the flight line gets cratered, and it doesn't matter. The E-3 Sentry orbiting at 30,000 feet is already doing the exact same job the ground radar was doing. The base has backups for the backups for the backups. Rapid set concrete fills the crater in under an hour. Inside the sea of OC, the screens flicker from the impact. The overhead lights sway. An officer grabs his coffee before it slides off the console. Fire trucks work the flight line outside the blast windows while officers inside continue directing the air campaign against Iran without interruption. Iran put 3 weapons through the front door of the building running the air war against it. The air war didn't notice, but over Kuwait, it's a different story. The sky above Ali Al Salem sounds like a thunderstorm that never moves on. 380 inbound projectiles. Ballistic missiles and drones stacked together, salvo after salvo. The largest combined barrage any missile defense battery has faced in modern warfare. The Kuwaiti and American Patriot crews are about to set a record that may never be broken. A PAEC-3 operator acquires the first inbound Shahab variant at the edge of his envelope, 35 miles out. Descending through 60,000 feet at Mach 6, he fires two interceptors 8 seconds apart. Standard procedure. If the first misses, the second is already on the way. The first catches the warhead at 40,000 feet. Flash. Track gone. The second, already committed, self-destructs when it loses its target. 2 rounds per threat. That's the math nobody puts in the brochure. You don't get second chances with ballistic missiles. The batteries keep firing. White arcs climbing in pairs, flashing at altitude. Wreckage trails streaking toward the earth. The crews cycle through reload after reload. Canisters emptied, swapped, and recharged by ground teams working under the strobe light flicker of their own interceptors launching overhead. Every few minutes, a new salvo crosses the Kuwaiti border. Every few minutes, the Patriot batteries answer. The pace never stops. The accuracy never drops. 3 hours of continuous engagement at a rate of fire no peacetime exercise ever simulated. 380 engagements. 0 leakers. Perfect record. Under conditions no missile defense system was designed to face at this volume, they bat 1,000. The kind of performance that rewrites every textbook on integrated air and missile defense. Somewhere in a defense contractor's boardroom, the next sales presentation just wrote itself. But physics always extracts a cost. 380 intercepts means 380 debris clouds falling somewhere. Most land in open desert, but shrapnel from a high-altitude intercept rains through a supply staging area, where troops are loading pallets through the night. Calls for medics ring across the base. Ground crews patch the runway with rapid-set concrete, and route forklifts around debris craters. A stray drone clips Kuwait International Airport. Iran's 1,000-missile barrage has done little more here than inconvenience commercial aviation. 380 for 380. The most perfect missile defense performance in history. The shrapnel casualties are the cost of physics, not the cost of failure. And this is far from the only piece of history being made tonight. A Shaheds operator at Al Dhafar gets the launch notification at 3:47 local to ballistic tracks, high arc, inbound from Iranian territory. Terminal high-altitude area defense. 30 years of development. Billions of dollars. Already proven over the UAE in 2022 against Houthi ballistic missiles. Then firing roughly 150 interceptors, defending Israel across 2024 and 2025. But it has never defended an American base under a direct Iranian barrage. Until right now. The battery fires. The first interceptor blows out of its canister, and climbs on a single-stage solid rocket motor. One continuous burn pushing the weapon straight up through the troposphere, through the stratosphere, into the thin black where the sky stops being blue, and starts being space. At 100 kilometers altitude, the nose cone separates. The kinetic kill vehicle, roughly the size of a basketball packed with infrared seekers, and its own divert thrusters, flies free. 100 kilometers up, higher than weather balloons, higher than spy planes. The edge of space, where the air is so thin a candle wouldn't stay lit, and this thing is steering itself into a target moving at Mach 8. The seeker locks the descending Iranian warhead against the cold background of space. Thrusters fire millimeter corrections. The two objects meet head-on. Kinetic energy converts both into vapor 100 kilometers above the desert. 2 flashes above Abu Dhabi, bright enough to photograph from the ground. A second interceptor handles the second track with the same clean physics. Acquire. Close. Convert to vapor. Iran fires over 300 missiles and drones at the UAE that night. Every single one aimed at a military target gets intercepted. Al Dhafar stays in the fight without a scratch. Not a pothole on the runway. Not a broken window in the operations building. Undeterred, Iran tries it in Jordan. An F-35 pilot at Muwafaq Salti is running his last pre-takeoff checks when the air raid sirens start wailing. 49 projectiles are converging on the base. Ballistic missiles and drones in mixed salvos. Jordanian interceptors climb hard into the night. A Shaheds battery takes the highest threats. A warhead punches through the perimeter. The blast shakes the ramp hard enough to feel through the F-35's landing gear. Smoke is visible off the left canopy, from a structure that just took a direct hit. His targeting card says Iran. He advances to military power. Feels 43,000 pounds of thrust press him into the seat. Releases the brakes. The F-35 accelerates down the runway. Sirens wailing. Smoke off the left canopy. Interceptor contrails crisscrossing the sky above him. His own base taking fire behind the tail. He rotates into the dark with missiles still arcing overhead. The heads-up display is already populating with waypoints. First target, an IRGC command relay in western Iran. Coordinates updated 6 minutes ago via link 16. He retracts the gear, cleans up the jet, and points the nose east at 400 knots while a Patriot launch lights up his rear view mirrors. He will fly into western Iran, put precision munitions through those coordinates, land on the same runway, rearm, and do it again before sunrise. 2 combat sorties in one night, both launched from a base under active fire. He's not the only one. 60 American combat aircraft operated out of Muwafaq that night. F-35s, F-18s, tankers cycling on and off the runway between incoming salvos. Ground crews patch blast damage with rapid set concrete between launch cycles. As soon as one team finishes one crater, another drives to the next and has it filled before the concrete on the first one has fully cured. A weapons loader drives his truck around a fresh gouge in the taxiway to deliver jams to a jet turning for its second sortie. Armourers hang 2,000-pound bombs on pylons while Patriot contrails arc overhead. Iran threw 49 weapons at this base using targeting data from Chinese commercial satellites precise enough to identify individual aircraft shelters. The intelligence was perfect. The satellites caught everything: hardened shelters, fuel points, the command post. And still, every single one of those jets takes off anyway, drops ordnance on Iran, and comes back for more. But while Gulf bases in Jordan get minutes of warning from the east, Erbil in Iraq is so close they only get seconds from every direction. Iraqi militia units positioned 60 miles south are pushing cheap Iranian-designed drones at American compounds close enough to hear the engines before the radar paints them. By Saturday night, they've claimed 16 separate drone attacks on American positions. Over the American compound, the Phalanx operator hears the first one before his scope shows anything. A cheap-to-stroke engine buzzing in the dark at 300 feet. The system doesn't deliberate. Its search radar acquires the target. The tracking radar refines the solution. The 20mm M61 Gatling spins up to 4,500 rounds per minute, its 6-barrel assembly rotating more than 12 times per second. Tungsten rounds leave the muzzle at 1,100 meters per second like a swarm of furious hornets. The drone disintegrates at a range close enough to see the fireball without binoculars. The burst lasts less than a second. 25 tungsten rounds meeting a plastic airframe the way a fire hose meets a paper plate. Radar contact to scrap metal. 4 seconds. A second drone comes from a completely different bearing, south instead of west. The gun slews, locks, fires. The night lights up again. A third from the northwest. Same result. A fourth. The Phalanx chews through them so fast the barrel assembly is radiating heat visible on infrared. The militia crews launching these things from the backs of pickup trucks 60 miles away have no idea whether any of them are getting through. They just keep feeding them into the dark and posting claims on Telegram. 16 attacks. 16 claims of American casualties. 0 impacts inside the perimeter. The Iraqi militias are batting 0 and posting highlight reels on TikTok. The most expensive thing damaged at Erbil all night was a section of perimeter fence hit by falling drone debris from a successful intercept. The only American asset Iran hasn't shot at yet is the one that isn't bolted to the ground. And this is by far Iran's biggest mistake of the day. The IRGC launches ballistic missiles, a carrier strike Group 3 in the northern Arabian Sea. The Lincoln heels into a hard turn. The same evasive maneuver that sent an F-18 sliding off the Truman's deck during a Houthi attack earlier that year. Flight deck crews grab anything bolted down. The carriers for screws churn the Arabian Sea white as 100,000 tons of warship pivots to present the smallest possible radar cross-section to the inbound tracks. The escorts don't need the big ship to hold steady. Their Aegis radars are already tracking. Out on the screen, Aegis cruisers and guided missile destroyers spread so wide you can't see the edges of the formation from the Lincoln's bridge. Spy 1D phased array radars tracking everything inbound before it even clears Iranian airspace. For fixed arrays per ship, no moving parts. Firing solutions building on threats that are still climbing out of Iran. The missiles haven't reached apogee. The defense already knows where they're going to land. The outer ring fires first. SM-3 interceptors climb out of the vertical launch cells onto destroyers. VLS hatches blow open, boosters ignite, 1,400-kilogram missiles clear the deck trailing white exhaust into the dark. Exo-atmospheric intercept. Above the atmosphere entirely, catching the warheads in space before they begin their terminal dive. The SM-3 sheds its first stage booster, then its second, then its third, each one falling away as the missile gets lighter and faster. The final payload is a kinetic kill vehicle the size of a basketball riding into the vacuum above the Arabian Sea at Mach 13. guiding itself with puffs of nitrogen gas so precise they're measured in millimeters per second. No explosives, just a guided brick meeting an incoming warhead head-on, like threading a needle. If the needle and the thread were both moving at 16,000 kilometers per hour and neither one gets to try twice. Two bright flashes the lookouts on the signal bridge can see without magnification. Two tracks gone before they ever started falling. SM-2s handle the next wave on the descent. Interceptors screaming upward from 3 destroyers simultaneously, converging on warheads falling at hypersonic speed. Flashes at altitude. More tracks gone. A pair of Shaheds hugging the water at 15 meters try to sneak under the radar coverage. They get inside the outer ring before the Lincoln's Phalanx picks them up. Two Ram missiles ripple off the launcher 3 seconds apart. Each one a half-meter guided missile with an infrared seeker that hones in on the drone's engine heat. The first Ram tracks the Shaheds across the wave-tops and hits it low enough to scatter wreckage across the surface. The second catches the trailing drone 1.5 miles behind it. 2 threats, 2 missiles, 2 intercepts at ranges measured in thousands of meters. The fireball is visible from the Lincoln's flight deck. Not a single Iranian weapon touches the carrier, or any ship in the formation. 15 minutes later, the flight deck is clear, and the catapult steam is building. But the Lincoln isn't launching a routine cycle. The air boss calls out every combat aircraft on the roof, loaded to maximum gross weight, launching in sequence. This isn't defense anymore. The F-18 from VFAE for 1 Black Aces rolls onto Catapult 1 carrying for GBU-31 JDAMs. 3,600 kilograms of GPS-guided ordnance aimed at the IRGC's underground command bunker at East Val. The catapult officer drops to one knee, touches the deck. The holdback breaks. 0 to 260 kilometers per hour in under 3 seconds. The Super Hornet clears the bow and climbs east. Behind it, catapult to fires. Then 1 again. Then 2. 14 jets in 9 minutes. Super Hornets, Growlers, a Hawkeye riding high to quarterback the strike. Every pylon loaded. Every jet headed for Iran. Iran took their best shot trying to shut this carrier down. It bought them 15 minutes of empty flight deck. And now every single one of those missiles is answered. Not with interceptors. With JDAMs falling on the facilities that just launched or coordinated them. You shoot at the carrier. The carrier launches strikes on your bases. Not defense. A statement. Written in molten concrete, tungsten, and 4,000-degree kinetic warheads. Iran spent its best weapons that night. Hundreds of missiles. Thousands of drones. Against the most defended bases on the planet, crewed by the best trained operators in history. The result? A few craters filled before dawn. A few antennas replaced. 1 perimeter fence section damaged by intercept debris. And 60 jets that took off anyway from a runway under fire and went to go hit back. The defense held not because the systems were perfect. It held because behind every console, every launcher, every rapid-set concrete truck, there were people who had done exactly this, over and over, until it wasn't a drill anymore. 380 missiles. 0 through. Iran aimed at the war. The war didn't blink.